Good evening, my dear friends. I want to share with you tonight the most profound secret about the power of your inner conversation. Not a technique, not a method, a secret in the truest sense of the word, meaning something that has been in plain sight all along, available to everyone, missed by nearly everyone, that once genuinely understood will not merely improve your life, but will completely and permanently revolutionize the way you understand creation itself. The secret is this: the words you speak to yourself, the continuous, mostly unconscious inner dialogue that runs through your mind from the moment you wake until the moment sleep takes. You are not thoughts floating through empty space. They are the very substance of reality, the living, breathing, creative essence of the world you inhabit. In the beginning was the Word, and that Word is not finished. It is still speaking. It is speaking right now in the interior of your own mind, shaping everything you experience. Most of you move through your days, allowing this inner conversation to run entirely on its own, unconsciously, habitually, following the grooves worn by old beliefs and old patterns, never pausing to recognize that these very words are molding and shaping your entire world. You wonder why circumstances stay the same. You wonder why effort seems to produce so little. You never look where the actual creation is occurring inside, in the unobserved, unguarded, running narrative of your inner life. Tonight, that changes. Tonight, I will share with you specific inner conversations that, when genuinely understood and persistently maintained, must produce outer conditions that correspond to their nature. Not might, must, for this is law, and law has no exceptions. Consider this eternal principle, and consider it carefully. Every word you speak to yourself carries within it a seed that must, by the nature of consciousness, bloom into outer experience. The inner conversation is not preparing you for something to happen. It is the happening. It is not leading you toward a state, it is the state. For consciousness is the only reality, and the words you habitually speak to yourself are creating states of consciousness that must, without fail, without exception, objectify themselves in your world. This is why some people seem to manifest with what looks like effortless ease, while others remain caught in endless cycles of wanting and waiting. The difference is not luck, it is not talent, it is not circumstance. It is the content and quality of the inner conversation. It is the state from which the words are spoken. When you say to yourself, I am, you are invoking the most creative phrase in any language. I am, that I am. These were the words given from the burning bush, the name of the creative power at the center of all existence. And every time you declare I am, you are speaking from that same center. You are using the same creative capacity that framed worlds. I am wealthy. I am loved. I am healthy. When you say these words from the right inner place, from the consciousness of fulfillment, not the consciousness of wanting, you are not trying to convince yourself of something. You are declaring what is already true in the invisible dimension from which all visible things arise. And what is declared in consciousness with genuine feeling, persisted in with genuine consistency, must externalize. It is law. Here is the crucial distinction, and it is the one that most people miss entirely. The words you speak to yourself must come from the consciousness of having, not the consciousness of wanting or needing. This difference is everything. When you say, I need, you are affirming the experience of need. When you say, I hope, you are affirming the experience of hoping, which is the inner weather of someone who does not yet have what they desire. When you say someday, you are creating more someday. But when you speak from the consciousness of fulfillment, when you say I am, I have, I experience, you are creating from the same consciousness that said, let there be light. You are speaking the creative word from the creative place. And the world, which is always and only the outward reflection of that inner place, has no alternative but to follow. This is not semantics. This is the mechanism of creation. When you wake in the morning, before you check anything, before the day's demands arrive, let your first inner conversation be this: I am blessed beyond measure. Not as a hope, not as something you are working toward, as a statement of what is already true in consciousness, a state you are choosing to inhabit as the ground of your day. Feel the truth of it. Let it settle into your body before you rise. Follow this with, everything I touch prospers and succeeds. Speak these words not as a wish, but as a natural assumption, the kind of assumption a person makes about the basic facts of their own life, the kind of certainty you have about your own name. Throughout your day, let this inner conversation run beneath everything else you are doing. I am surrounded by infinite abundance, not abundance that is coming, abundance that is. Let these words saturate your consciousness until they become as unremarkable and natural as breathing, because naturalness is the sign that the assumption has genuinely taken root. When you speak to yourself about your desires, speak from the end, always from the end. Do not say, I am trying to be successful. Say, I am successful in all that I do. Do not say, I hope to find love. Say, I am deeply and completely loved. The difference is not merely grammatical. It is the difference between speaking from outside the desired state, looking toward it from a distance, and speaking from inside it, as someone for whom it is simply the unremarkable truth of their existence. Your inner conversation creates the consciousness from which all your experiences spring. Therefore, let every inner declaration be made from the position of arrival, not the position of approach. I am the master of my destiny, and my destiny is magnificent. Feel the authority in these words, not the authority of arrogance, but the quiet authority of someone who understands their creative nature and has decided to use it deliberately. Everything is working together for my highest good. Let these words sink into your consciousness until they become your natural assumption, because what you naturally assume will naturally manifest. When doubt appears, and doubt will appear, especially at first, do not fight it and do not indulge it. Counter it with a specific and powerful inner move. I remember when I used to doubt, but now I know my good is assured. Do you feel what this does? It places doubt in the past, which is exactly where it belongs, and establishes certainty in the present. It does not pretend the doubt never existed. It simply moves it out of the operative position, from the present tense into the past, where it has no creative power. This is a tool of extraordinary precision. Use it whenever the old pattern rises. I remember when I used to believe that, but now I know differently. And then state what you know from the present, from the end, from the consciousness of fulfillment. When faced with any challenge in your circumstances, your relationships, your body, your work, speak this to yourself immediately. This too is working out perfectly for me. Not as a denial of what is happening, not as a forced positivity that pretends difficulty doesn't exist. As a declaration from a consciousness that understands the outer world is always the shadow of the inner, and that the inner has already been established. The shadow must follow the light, and the light, your chosen inner state, has already moved to where you want the shadow to go. Change the inner conversation, and you must change the shadow. This is not metaphor. This is the operating law. Regarding wealth and financial consciousness, maintain this inner dialogue. Wealth flows to me naturally and effortlessly. Feel the ease in these words, not the desperate hoping of someone grasping for something out of reach, but the natural ease of someone describing the simple truth of their experience. I am grateful for my ever-increasing wealth. Notice what this does. It places you in the consciousness of already having, not desiring to have. Gratitude is always the inner weather of a person who possesses something. When you speak from gratitude, you speak from having. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways. Feel the openness in these words, the specific expansiveness of a consciousness that is not limiting the channels through which abundance can arrive, but welcoming all of them. When you see others experiencing prosperity, Instead of allowing any contracted feeling of comparison or competition, immediately speak this: everyone's good is my good, and my good is increasing daily. This maintains the consciousness of abundance. It eliminates the zero-sum thinking that is the primary psychological source of financial struggle. Regarding love and relationships, speak these words to yourself with the quality of settled knowing. I am surrounded by perfect, harmonious relationships, not searching for them, not hoping they will arrive, surrounded by them as a present fact of consciousness. I am deeply and completely loved for exactly who I am. This is perhaps the most transformative inner declaration available to a human being. Not loved conditionally, not loved in spite of, not loved if you change enough or improve enough. Love for exactly who you are. When this becomes your natural inner assumption, when you genuinely inhabit this as simply the truth of your life, your relationships must reflect it. Every person I encounter reflects back to me the love that I am. This is the inner conversation that transforms every interaction. It places you in the consciousness not of seeking love, but of being love, and what you are, you attract. What you radiate, you receive. When facing any relationship difficulty, speak this: all my relationships are healing, harmonizing, and aligning with perfect love. You are not describing what you see. You are commanding what must appear. The outer is the shadow, the inner is the light. Direct the light. Regarding your body and physical well-being, maintain this conversation. I am vibrantly healthy and full of life. Speak this not as a healing statement, as a present fact. Not I am healing, but I am healthy. The inner conversation about your body must be from the state of perfect health, not from the state of seeking it. Every cell in my body is infused with divine life and energy. Feel the vitality in these words. Let them change the quality of your awareness of your own body. My body naturally knows how to maintain perfect balance and harmony. This establishes the consciousness that must express as radiant health, not by your micromanagement, but by the natural intelligence of a body operating from the assumption of wellness. When faced with any physical challenge, immediately speak this: I remember when I used to experience that condition, but now I know perfect health. Place the discord in the past. Establish health in the present. The law reads your present state, not your history. Regarding your mind and mental clarity, I am one with infinite intelligence and wisdom. Speak this with the complete conviction of someone stating an obvious fact because it is. You are an expression of the same creative intelligence that organized the universe. Your access to that intelligence is not something you must earn. It is something you must claim. All wisdom and knowledge are already within me, unfolding naturally. This is the consciousness of someone who does not strain toward understanding, but trusts the unfolding of what is already present. When faced with any decision, divine wisdom guides every thought and decision I make, not as a hope, as the operating truth. Regarding your sense of purpose and direction, I am fulfilling my divine purpose with grace and ease. Purpose is not something to be found through searching. It is something to be recognized through alignment, through inhabiting the inner state of someone who already knows why they are here and moves from that knowing. My life is a perfect expression of divine purpose. Let this become your natural assumption about your existence, because what you naturally assume, you naturally express. When doubt about your path appears, I remember when I used to question my purpose, but now I walk in complete certainty. Place the uncertainty in the past, establish certainty in the present, and then live from the certainty. Regarding time and timing, I am always in the right place at the right time. This is not optimism. This is the natural experience of a consciousness that has aligned with the intelligence governing all things. Divine order governs my entire life. When you feel urgency or frustration about timing, when things seem delayed, When the bridge between assumption and manifestation seems longer than you wish, speak this. And feel the shift, the specific shift from anxiety to peace that occurs when you genuinely release control to a law that is more intelligent and more creative than your plans. Everything is unfolding in divine perfect order. Not everything has gone perfectly. Not everything looks the way you would have chosen. But everything is unfolding perfectly, meaning that the law is operating exactly as it always operates, building the bridge between the inner state you have established and its physical expression in the world. Now let me bring all of these eternal principles to their culmination, because what I have shared with you tonight is not a collection of affirmations. It is the science of conscious creation stated specifically, so you can apply it to every dimension of your life. Every single word you speak to yourself is either accepting your good or rejecting it. There is no neutral inner conversation. Every moment, you are either affirming the consciousness of having or the consciousness of lacking. Every moment, you are planting seeds, and seeds grow. That is their nature. They do not ask permission. They simply become what they carry. So speak to yourself as a master speaks, from the end, from fulfillment, from the consciousness of already being what you desire to be. When you lay your head on the pillow each night, let this be your final inner conversation. I sleep in the consciousness of divine fulfillment, knowing that as I sleep, all things are working together for my good. Feel the peace of these words. Let them carry you into sleep as the last impression on your consciousness, because the state you fall asleep in is the state from which creation operates through the night. When you rise in the morning before anything else, let this be your first. This is a divine day, and I live it from the consciousness of complete fulfillment, not working toward fulfillment, from fulfillment. This is the difference that changes everything. Take what I have shared with you tonight and make it genuinely your own. Not as a practice you perform for 20 minutes and then set aside as the actual, ongoing, daily inner atmosphere of your life. When you change your inner conversation genuinely, persistently, from the right place, you change your world. Not because you have found a technique, because you have discovered and begun to consciously operate the mechanism that was always running beneath your experience. The world is yourself pushed out. Every person you encounter, every circumstance that finds you, every pattern that keeps repeating, or finally breaks all of it, is the outpicturing of your habitual inner conversation. Change that conversation, and the world must follow. It has no other option. It is law. Watch your inner conversation with the care and attention of an artist who knows that every mark they make changes the painting permanently. For you are painting the canvas of your life with every word you speak to yourself, in the quiet of the morning, in the rush of the afternoon, in the stillness before sleep. Speak wisely. Speak from the end. Speak from fulfillment, from certainty, from the consciousness of already being and having what you desire. And then watch with the calm, satisfied recognition of someone who expected it as your whole vast world reshapes itself in harmony with the words you have chosen. For this is the promise, and the promise is sure. You are not calling forth something that does not exist. You are simply awakening to what eternally is. And your inner conversation is the key. Use it. This is Neville Lectures. I'll see you again in the next video.